I'm just so disappointed how this marriage has... we were so thrilled when they married. I honestly don't think colour had anything, certainly not in...
So I just need to clarify a couple of things. Who's we?
Well, I'm talking for myself, and I've spoken about this with friends.
Yes.
And we were just overjoyed when they married. We thought it was a fantastic thing. Americans marrying the English, and the whole ceremony, this beautiful bride, Harry so happy, the royal family embracing it all. We just thought we were in Wonderland.
Right.
And now this has happened, and we just
What has?
Well, they've left England.
Well, it's hardly surprising when you see what the newspapers have done to them. I mean, it's just on Sunday that she won a legal battle with a paper that paid her estranged father for a private letter.
Yes, I
wouldn't stick around, would you? You're in Hartley-Wintney. If the Hartley-Wintney Observer was paying your estranged father for your private communications, would you want to stay in Hartley-Wintney?
I might want to, yes.
Right.
I might want to brazen it out.
Okay, I wouldn't.
I think she would have done much better. I think they would have done as a family much better had they have stayed. I mean, America's an awfully big place.
So I don't really, and forgive me, I'm not sure you do either. What exactly have they done wrong?
Well, I think they should have stayed. I think they should have stayed with their little family.
So until they left, you were very much a cheerleader for them?
Yes, of course.
So it's just their decision to live where they want to live that's upset you?
Well, I just think...
In her home country?
They bolted, they bolted. And I think I was really disappointed they did this because we invested so much.
Why can't they live... You live where you want to, don't you?
Well, they can live wherever they want, and they are living wherever they want.
But why does it disappoint you that they live where they want?
Because we wanted them here.
Well, then we should have been nicer to them.
Well, I was nice. I don't know about anyone else, but I was nice, and I just thought it was a wonderful thing, just a wonderful, happy story, which
right.
sadly is ended.
But it's still happy. Well, I mean, the pictures are beautiful of the pregnancy. Why are you laughing?
Well, I think if that photographer took a picture of me, age 76, I'd look pretty beautiful too. But I don't think you can...
I don't understand that point.
People have got a happy life just by showing a picture. But
you said you're disappointed in them because they live where they want to live.
I'm not disappointed.
You've said it 4 times since you rang in. I don't want to have a fight with you, but it's as if we're both dancing around something here.
No, I'm disappointed that they left.
Right.
I'm disappointed that they actually left. Having had that magnificent wedding with the whole country embracing them, I just feel...
Well, I mean, that's simply not true, is it? The whole country wasn't embracing them. There was already a lot of negativity in place.
Credits to James O'Brien for once again cutting through the noise surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and exposing a contradiction that so many people still refuse to acknowledge. Because this conversation revealed something incredibly important about the backlash against Harry and Meghan. It showed how many critics cannot actually explain what the couple did wrong. The anger exists, the disappointment exists, the resentment exists, but when pressed for specifics, the argument starts falling apart. The caller in this exchange begins by sounding reasonable, even supportive. She says she was thrilled when Harry and Meghan got married. She describes the wedding as magical. She remembers the excitement surrounding an American woman marrying into the British royal family. She talks about Meghan as a beautiful bride, and Harry looking genuinely happy. And honestly, that part was true for millions of people around the world. Their wedding felt historic. It felt modern. It felt hopeful. For a moment, it looked like the monarchy was evolving into something more inclusive and more connected to the real world. People celebrated the image of a biracial American actress joining one of the oldest royal institutions on earth. The atmosphere was optimistic and emotional. Even people who normally ignored royal events were paying attention because it felt like a turning point. But then James O'Brien asks the question that changes everything. What exactly did they do wrong? And suddenly the conversation becomes incredibly revealing. The caller says she was disappointed because Harry and Meghan left England. That is the central complaint. Not corruption, not scandal, not betrayal, not criminal behaviour, not abuse of power. Simply the decision to leave. And James immediately points out the obvious contradiction. Why would anyone be shocked that they left after the treatment they received from parts of the British press? This is the detail people conveniently forget. Meghan Markle was not simply criticised in normal celebrity fashion. The attacks became relentless, personal, and often deeply disturbing. One newspaper published private communications involving her estranged father. Think about how invasive that is for a moment. Imagine dealing with family conflict privately while newspapers pay relatives for personal information and private letters. Imagine opening headlines every morning knowing your personal pain is being turned into entertainment for millions of strangers. Most people would not tolerate that pressure for a week, let alone years. James makes the comparison perfectly. If a local paper was paying your estranged family members for private communications, would you really want to stay there? And the caller struggles to answer, because the logic becomes impossible to deny. This is what made Harry and Meghan's situation so unique. People demanded that they remain loyal to an institution and a country, while simultaneously ignoring how hostile the environment had become around them. The same public that celebrated their wedding often failed to defend them once the media attacks intensified. And what stands out most in this conversation is the language of ownership. The caller says, "We invested so much." That sentence says everything, because many people began treating Harry and Meghan less like human beings and more like public property. As though because the wedding was televised and publicly celebrated, the couple somehow owed the public permanent access to their lives and obedience to expectations. But marriage is not a contract with newspaper readers, and Harry and Meghan were never obligated to sacrifice their peace, safety, or mental health just to satisfy public fantasy. That is where this conversation becomes bigger than royalty. It touches on something deeply modern, the entitlement people feel toward public figures, especially women who marry into powerful families. There was this expectation that Meghan should quietly endure endless criticism with a smile, because that is what royal tradition demanded. But why should anyone accept abuse simply to maintain appearances? That is the question critics rarely answer. James O'Brien keeps returning to the same issue over and over again. If the couple is happy, if they are raising their family peacefully, if they are choosing the life they want, why does that make some people angry? And the caller never fully explains it. Because the truth is, for many critics, the departure itself became symbolic. Harry, choosing Meghan over royal expectations, challenged the entire narrative people had built around monarchy and duty. For generations, royals were expected to put the institution first, no matter the personal cost. But Harry refused to repeat that pattern. And it is impossible to discuss this without mentioning Princess Diana. Harry grew up watching the media obsession that consumed his mother's life. He witnessed firsthand what happens when the institution and the press create unbearable pressure around someone inside the royal family. So, when he saw similar patterns emerging around Meghan, he reacted differently than previous generations might have. He protected his wife. That decision fundamentally changed everything. Critics framed it as weakness or manipulation, but another interpretation is far more convincing. Harry simply learned from history. He understood that protecting his family mattered more than protecting royal optics. And honestly, that should not be controversial. What also makes this exchange fascinating is how James calmly dismantles the illusion that the whole country embraced them. Because that was never entirely true. Even during the wedding period, there were ugly headlines, racist undertones, and endless commentary questioning whether Meghan truly belonged. There were stories criticizing things that would have been praised if another royal had done them. When Meghan edited Vogue, she was accused of being political and attention-seeking. When Kate Middleton championed causes, it was praised as leadership. When Meghan held her baby bump, headlines mocked her for seeking attention. When other royals displayed affection publicly, it was considered charming. The standards were clearly inconsistent, and millions of viewers noticed it. That is why so many people around the world sympathized with Harry and Meghan. Not because they are perfect, not because every decision they made was flawless, but because the imbalance in treatment became impossible to ignore. And the response from Harry and Meghan themselves has always been interesting. They did not disappear. They did not hide permanently. Instead, they built a new life on their own terms. They launched charitable projects, spoke openly about mental health, produced documentaries, published books, raised awareness around online abuse and media toxicity. And perhaps most importantly, they reclaimed control over their own narrative. That is what really unsettled some critics. Harry and Meghan were expected to fail after leaving royal duties. Instead, they became independent global figures with enormous influence. And that independence challenged the assumption that royal status is the only source of value or legitimacy. The conversation James O'Brien had with this caller perfectly captures the emotional contradiction at the centre of the entire debate. People say they loved Harry and Meghan. They say they wanted them to be happy. They say the wedding was magical and inspiring. But when the couple made a decision to protect their happiness, suddenly many of those same supporters turned hostile. Why? Because for some people, the image mattered more than the individuals themselves. The fantasy mattered more than the reality. Harry and Meghan disrupted the script people expected them to follow. And instead of quietly accepting pressure, criticism and invasion, they walked away and chose each other. At its core, that is the real story. Not scandal, not betrayal, not royal drama. A husband deciding his wife and children came first. A woman refusing to shrink herself to make others comfortable. And a couple choosing peace over performance. That is why this conversation remains so powerful years later. Because when James O'Brien kept asking the simple question, what exactly did they do wrong? Nobody could give a convincing answer. And maybe that silence says more than any headline ever could.